What if the old school ways of treating OCD were outdated? What if there was another way to overcome your mental illness and live a life free from suffering? What if you knew you had the power within you to completely heal yourself, and it's much, much easier than you think? Well, in this video, I'm going to share with you my own personal story of OCD that has never been heard before, and I believe this video can completely change your life, so stay tuned until the end. Welcome to my channel. My name is Linda, and I am a mental health expert, and I help people all over the world transform their mental health. For the best tools and techniques to improve your mental health, subscribe to my channel and be sure to hit the bell icon below to be notified as I bring out new video content every Monday and Friday. Okay, so let's dive into my personal story of OCD. It was around 9 years ago when I had just finished up as training to be an accountant, and I was in between jobs. So I was quite anxious about trying to find a job. I was very, very stressed. And looking back now, I can see that I had suffered with anxiety for a number of years prior to that. But I didn't think there was anything wrong with that. I didn't even know what anxiety was. I just thought it was life. And I dealt with that in various ways, from alcohol to food to all sorts of different things that I'll cover in another video. But I was in a place of quite dark place in my head, of feeling like I was kind of stuck in what I had to do for life and not knowing any way out. So while I was between looking for these jobs, I spent a lot of time procrastinating, ruminating, worrying. I had gone for a number of interviews for accounting jobs, which I didn't get, and that kind of spiraled into more upset, more anxiety. And it was one specific day that I was babysitting, and I remember it very clearly. I was sitting on the couch and I was ruminating a lot. I was worrying. I was thinking about, what if I don't get the job? What if I never get a job? What if all these worst case scenarios, style of thinking, which caused me a lot of anxiety. And I had a thought at that specific time just come into my head: what if I harm my family member that I was babysitting? Now you can imagine, to think something like that is completely devastating and caused me highly amounts of trauma and distress within my body and my mind. And at that moment in time, I literally thought I was losing my mind, because I'd never experienced a talk like this before. Of course, I loved my family member, so it was completely against me as a person. It's completely irrational thought. And at that time, as I said, in that moment, I went into the bathroom and I had so much anxiety running through my system that I felt like I wanted to pull my hair out. I know for anyone listening at home, this is, you may experience this, or you can relate, because only a person that goes through something like this can fully relate to how it feels. So going through that, having that thought, and feeling the highly amounts of trauma and distress from that thought, it became obsessive. In other words, it was a constant on loop. All I could do was really sleep, was to get relief. It was 24/7, and even at that, my sleep was highly affected. I kept this to myself for a while, because number one, I was ashamed, I was embarrassed, and I was guilty. Like, how could I think something like this about someone I love? Am I going to do this? Why am I thinking this? If I'm thinking this, maybe I'm going to do this. This was the constant conflict between myself of course I'm not, but the other side of it, the obsessive thought was, well, why are you thinking? If you're thinking it, you must want to do it. And I suffered with that for a few months in high distress. The urges I had was because I felt I wanted to self-harm. I didn't, but I wanted to, because the anxiety was so high, it felt like it was crawling through my skin. Literally, like there was something crawling all over my skin, where I would go and I'd have to have a shower to feel like somewhat that it would kind of give me some sort of release. So it was high amounts of anxiety. So at the time, I didn't know what this was, obviously. but I knew I wasn't well. I really felt like I was having a nervous breakdown. And because I kept it to myself for so long, that just magnified the issue. So I started doing Googling what this was, and it came up with a term called obsessive compulsive disorder, or OCD, which was devastating to me because I felt like I was a happy-go-lucky person. I felt like that, this has just stopped my life completely and turned it upside down. So it was even devastating to think I didn't even know what anxiety was, or obviously stress, but I didn't know what these things were, and it was completely opposite to my awareness. So I suppose when I started to research all this stuff, I'd come across, okay, this is OCD. These thoughts are part of intrusive thoughts, and you can have compulsions with these intrusive thoughts. So the intrusive thoughts which I had created high states of anxiety, and then we would do compulsions to alleviate the anxiety. But for me, I didn't have any physical compulsions, but I did have mental compulsions. So I suppose a compulsion mentally for me would be that I would try to analyse the thought. I would try to figure it all out. I would try to kind of into the thought and trying to break it down. I would also do a lot of Googling. So that is a compulsion for me. And it's where you would Google a lot for reassurance that is this normal? Is this normal for someone that suffers with OCD? Or am I actually losing my mind and I'm going to act on these thoughts? So comment below. I would love to know if this is something that you can relate to, that is this maybe a compulsion that you have, that you check online, that you do a lot of research or you do a lot of Googling to find out, is this me, or is this just my thoughts? So that did give me some relief, like a little bit, but of course that was the start of a journey of trying to figure this out. I can't live with this. This is horrific to live with. It caused me severe distress. I had severe panic constantly. I was so sensitized to everything that I could feel everything, every little bit of anxiety I could feel. I lived always up here because I was analysing every thought that came in. It was like as if I was like a guard standing at the doorway of my mind, and I was analysing everything. I had really bad nausea in my stomach. I had like a golf ball in my throat, so even to swallow, I would always carry water around with me, but even to swallow, it would never go away. So these symptoms are really horrific to live with. It wasn't until then I decided, okay, I need to go and get some help. So I ended up going to the doctor, was my first protocol to, maybe they can help me. And I was issued with a medication for depression. And I remember clearly sitting in the doctor saying, I don't have depression. Like, obviously I felt depressed. Yes, I felt low. My mood had completely dropped every day. But I wasn't depressed. I had severe anxiety. In fact, I was the opposite. I was so anxious because of having these thoughts. I wanted them to stop. So I did get the medication. I did fulfill the prescription. But for me, I didn't take it. I had it by my bed, and I said, my kind of thought to myself was, if things get really bad, which it did, I would take them. I did have a lot of thoughts of suicide ideation. I had a lot of thoughts of self-harm because the anxiety was so severe. The intrusive thoughts from harming a family member led into other intrusive thoughts of harming myself, of, as I said, suicide ideation. So from then I decided to, okay, next protocol, next step for me would be to go to psychologist. So I went to a psychologist and I did learn about the mind-body connection, how our thoughts create our feelings, and I did CBT. It did give me temporary relief because I got to understand, okay, this just isn't just me. In that moment, yes, it helped, but when I'd be out and about living my life and I would have a lot of these thoughts, I was totally transported to a different place of total irrationality, and I couldn't pull myself back because the thoughts were so strong. In fact, the reaction was so strong, the anxiety was so strong that it was really hard for me to bring any of CBT methods into place because I was gone into the obsessive thinking mode and it was very hard to pull myself back. So I went to a psychologist, then I went, and of course it got okay, well not okay as in somewhat temporary relief. Then it got really bad. Then I'd move on to another psychologist and I do the same thing again. And I'd done ERP, this is exposure response, where you don't avoid certain things, so you make sure you stay in. If I'm having thoughts around a family member, I don't leave that room, I stay there and I work through that. For me, the feelings were so intense that I couldn't do that. So as I said, I went around a number of psychologists, and it just, for me, I did get relief temporary, but it wasn't enough. The feelings were quite severe. So I ended up then searching. So there was something within me that was guiding me to keep going, keep looking. Something that was pulling me through it to say there has to be something else out there, and which I have found, which is a Pacific breath exercise under the Kundalini Yoga tradition. It's a Pacific breath exercise for OCD. And I can gladly say that it's completely changed my life. I'm so grateful to have found this, and I'm also so grateful to be able to share it with people and help people transform their lives all around the world. This Pacific breath exercise, what it does is it deals with the root of the issue. So the issue is the nervous system. It is the reaction that we're having to these thoughts that needs to be readjusted. And this is what this specific breath exercise does. As I said, it completely transformed my life. It didn't happen overnight. It took a practice. It took a daily practice. But I started to see relief fairly quick, maybe in the first few weeks. But relief for anyone that has OCD is huge. It could be like relief, that much relief. But that much relief feels like everything, because when you're with this for 24 hours a day, any relief is key. So I wanted to share my story with you because I wanted to share the message to people out there that is suffering, to know that there is another way, that we keep going, that there is always another way, and that recovery is possible. I have worked with clients all around the world, and I have seen miraculous transformations where their life is completely transformed, from people that has suffered with OCD for 35 years to now being symptom free. So don't just take my word for it. Please check out the testimonials from the clients that I've worked with, and I will leave a link below in the description where you can check that out for yourself. If you like this video, be sure to hit that like button, and also be sure to subscribe to my channel as I bring out new video content every Monday and Friday. And please also share this with any family and friends, as this video can change lives, and I want to make sure to get my message out there to help as many people as possible. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again very shortly.